think we're live, Kate.
Fantastic. Hi to everybody. Welcome to our session.
Welcome, everyone. I'm just going to give everyone a couple of minutes, aren't we, to join in.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to use the chat function just to introduce who you are, and if you are a primary school teacher or if you're listening in a different capacity, you want to include that in the chat. It's always good to know who we've got listening live. We've also got on the screen in front of you a little activity for you for a Friday afternoon, which is essentially just a little bit of fun, but it has quite an important message at the same time. So on your screen, you can see a question in a foreign language and some possible answers there. So it's worth 3 points. And if you want to put your 3 points in the chat, and the 3 points are for identifying what the question is, identifying what language the question's in, and also picking the correct answer.
Oh, one answer in the chat, I think. Ooh, good afternoon. Hi, Belinda.
Hi, Belinda. Thank you for joining us. You're an MFL teacher from Bath. I wonder whether you're still in school or you've made it home. Either or, you're very welcome.
So we're going to leave the quiz slide a few more seconds, and I think we're going to begin.
Yeah, definitely.
A few more seconds for them to arrive.
It is just a bit of fun, but what it also teaches, I think, when we're looking at something like this, is that we're putting ourselves in the shoes of the language learner, aren't we, Emily? It really makes us realise, because this particular language is not one that's familiar to me, so I'm really having to think about what I can see, what the cognate words are, so the words that have any similarities with English or any other languages that I happen to know. I'm also having to think about the answers that I'm given, so it's multiple choice, which is great because I can pick one, and maybe there's a link with another area of the curriculum there. I'm thinking a geographic link because I can see something that looks a bit like Africa and some place names. There's also a visual, so there's a picture on the right hand side, and I always say to my pupils that you can use the picture clues. They're absolutely valid parts of communication, so not to think that it's cheating by using the picture clue. So if you're just joining us, welcome. We'll just give you a minute or so more to have a go and put maybe your answer in the chat. So what's the question asking? What language do you think the question's in? And what do you think the answer is?
Okay.
Belinda's had a go at the language Afrikaans, and I can see why you might think that, Belinda. Anybody got any other ideas? Oh, we're thinking about highest mountain. Might that be the link with the word berg? I know in German berg is mountain, so maybe we're using our knowledge of other languages there. Or even the word iceberg could make you make that link, couldn't it? So what's the answer then? What do we think?
Shall we have a look?
Let's have a look.
Okay, let's see.
There we go. Well done. What is the tallest mountain in Africa? The answer, Kilimanjaro, but the language was actually Swedish.
Wow.
Yeah, well done if you identified that. This is actually one of 10 what we call pub quiz questions. It's a resource that we developed as part of Primary Languages Network's annual conference last year. It went down really, really well, not just with children in schools, but also with staff and teachers at inset days. I know people have used it in staff training, just to break the ice a little bit and to, again, like I say, get the adults to be the language learners and to really feel how it feels for children meeting foreign language for the first time. So thank you for having a go at that.
Okay, right. So I think we'll begin, Kate.
Absolutely, yeah. That's fine. Yes, let's introduce ourselves. So my name is Kate Percival. I'm a primary school teacher teaching in Warrington at the moment. I'm also MFL coordinator at my school. And then I also work as primary MFL consultant for PLN, Primary Languages Network. And with me, I have Emily Woodruff. Do you want to introduce yourself, Emily?
Yes, hi, I'm Emily. I'm one of the directors at Primary Languages Network. I am a native speaker of French, and I'm also a teacher. I'm secondary trained, actually, but I was very, very lucky to be involved in primary languages, in teaching primary languages from day one of my teaching career. And I say that I'm really lucky because really that's where my heart is. So I'm really excited to tell you all about, what we do at Primary Languages Network and how we work with primary schools. So that's me. So, thank you very much.
So our session today is about engaging the non-specialist teacher. And what I might just say at the start of our presentation is we can see that term non-specialist in two different forms, really. So you might consider yourself as non-specialist in terms of your own language knowledge, so how good your French is or how good your Spanish is. And you might also think about that term non-specialist in terms of the pedagogy, so the how of teaching language and whether you're experienced in that or whether you could do with some help and support with that. So as we go through today's presentation, just have those two definitions in mind. I think that'd be really useful actually as to what we mean when we're talking about non-specialist. So as I said, we're from Primary Languages Network, and you can see on the screen now why so many schools, in fact over 900 schools, have now chosen PLN as their network and as their scheme of work provider for French, for Spanish or for German, because we have comprehensive and robust schemes of work in all three languages. We have native speaker video schemes of work for French and Spanish, and we have PowerPoint based schemes for all three languages, which have audio support built into them. All the resources and planning for coordinators are there and downloadable and adaptable, and they're very primary focused as well. So it's not a watered down secondary curriculum. It's very much based in the primary classroom. We are a live scheme, so it's continually being adapted and updated. And we're really pleased actually this week, hot off the press, just to announce that Primary Languages Network, the hybrid scheme of work for video to teach, has been awarded, highly commended through the Teach Primary Awards for the foundation innovation stage. So we're really proud of that accolade. And we're also really proud of the CPD that we offer. So we, as a company, we offer upskilling opportunities for teachers, so to improve their own French or Spanish. We also offer networking and skill sharing events for twilights, for coordinators within schools, and also outward facing CPD. We work with lots of different skits and with academies throughout the country as well. So yes, our tagline is being proud of your primary languages, and that's really a theme that we want to share with you today.
Great, okay. So what are our session ends? You want to take everyone through what we're going to talk about, Kate, and then I'll get started on my bit as well.
Will do. So today what we want to cover for you is really how to overcome obstacles to boosting teacher confidence. So whether you are new to a language or new to teaching languages, it encompasses all of that really. Emily will take you through some examples of some tried and tested techniques and some really effective practice, which we know works in the classroom. And then I'll be looking at the end at raising the profile of primary languages and really being proud and flying that flag for your subject in school. And you can see at the bottom there, we've got a lovely quote from one of our network schools saying that they were really impressed with what we call Premium Plus membership, which is the video lessons scheme of work. It's had a huge jump. It's made a huge jump on what was previously provided and has been invaluable for non-specialists. So that, I think, just in a nutshell, just says how useful a scheme of work like this could be. At the end of our session, there will be a Q&A opportunity. So if you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see the Q&A box, and throughout, if you want to add any questions, do so. And we'll also be giving a resource away at the end. So stick with us and we'll talk you through that as well.
That's great. Okay, so I'll begin. And what I want to start by looking at is, if we want to boost non-specialist confidence, we want to think about what might be their barrier or their obstacles. How can we help them overcoming those obstacles? So in our many conversations with our 900 members, we hear often the same obstacle barriers being mentioned. And in no particular order, really, we hear that people are feeling like knowledge is a barrier, is an obstacle. Really, the question is, what should I teach? Don't know where to start. We didn't have primary languages when I was at school. What does primary languages look like? Pronunciation, that's quite a big one. How do I form sounds? Or we hear things like, I can't speak French, or how do I know how to say this? Or silent letters, what are those? So we hear about some problems with pronunciation. identifying progress. So, okay, I know what the knowledge is, pronunciation. What about progress? What does it look like? Will I know what it is when I see it? So we're going to share with you a poll. Katie is going to share that on the screen, and we'd like you to tell us which one is your main obstacle, whether you are yourself a non-specialist teacher or you work with non-specialist teachers. And from what you hear, what do you think is their main obstacle? So language knowledge, pronunciation, identifying the progress, or is it all three? And I think you can select more than one, actually. So we'll give you a few seconds to type in your answer. And I think it's going to show us the results. So we give everyone a few more seconds. Okay. Shall we have a
Right.
Yeah.
Stop there. So I'll press end poll. Can you see those results?
I can't see that now, actually, so maybe you can share it with us.
Yeah, so of the people who answered, all three is definitely coming out on top, Emily. Wow. So that's what we thought. And then slightly behind is identifying progress. So that's interesting to know that that's something people feel they need that support with. But thank you. It's good.
Okay, thank you. Okay, super. So what I propose to do now is that we unpack each of the knowledge, pronunciation, and progress, and take you through how at Primary Languages Network we support the non-specialists with these points. So let's start. There we go. So number one, knowledge. What should I teach? Now, before I get into it, I really want to set the scene and talk about the context, because if you know primary school, you know that the primary curriculum is very, very busy. There are lots of subjects to go through, new concepts as well to go through. And as much as we'd like, we can't spend the whole afternoon teaching French. There is a set amount of time that we have allocated for the subject. And we know that this varies from 30 minutes to 60 minutes. Not here to say which one is the right amount of time, but it is really important to understand the context that non-specialist teachers are in. And also we know that out of the 12 weeks of an average term, primary languages might have, might be taught for 10 weeks out of those 12 weeks. So really important to understand that it's one subject out of a lot of subjects in the primary schools. And given that context, how can we support teachers, and how can we be ambitious with the curriculum, really? So I'm going to go straight in and say that as a non-specialist, my number one recommendation is really to access a high quality scheme of work. And a good scheme of work, in my opinion, should have your long-term, your medium-term plans, your weekly lessons, your resources, your assessment opportunities. It should give you access to audio, video. It should have everything that you need to, because again, given the context, you don't have time to go and find all of these things yourself. So at Primary Languages Network, we have two different schemes of work. The first one is Video to Teach, which is our award-winning scheme of work, which is video-based lessons. And we have also Click to Teach, which is the PowerPoint-based scheme of work. And the two schemes mirror each other, and it allows for hybrid teaching. So it means that if a school buys into the package, they can decide which scheme of work they want to access depending on the level of support they need. And they can be really sure that whichever routes they go through, they will be at the same level because the two schemes work together. And our scheme, like Kate explained, is very much a live scheme. Really, we've got a team of 20 teachers, and they fed back to us what works in their classes. These teachers, they're a team of visiting teachers. I myself, I'm a visiting teacher, and we go and teach in 50 schools in the northwest of England, and we deliver this scheme. So we know it works. And also with the conversation from our network members, we hear a lot of sort of feedback, and we, like Kate said, we improve all the time. We love making new resources. So it's very much, teamwork. So the next thing I want to talk about for the knowledge and overcoming obstacles is, once you've got the really good scheme of work, well, you only need to be one step ahead. Learn as you go. You don't have to have all the answers. okay? Model to your children, to your class, that you are a learner, and be one step ahead. So you only need to be 1 or 2 lessons ahead of the class. And if you are, using the video to teach, you can easily see what's coming in the next few lessons, because you can watch yourself the video, and then you can either use that lesson yourself in the lesson, or you might use the Click to Teach lesson, because you'll have felt that you've upskilled yourself enough and you're confident to deliver that session. Now, Video to Teach is really a teaching tool and also a training tool for the teachers. And it's very much an interactive resource. So we do require the active participation of the class teacher. So really, it's going to be something that's going to help you improve. Moving on, and something I think that goes with that is this really the idea of be honest and tell your class you're also a learner. Lead by example, do what I do, not what I say. And children are much more likely to have a go themselves if they see you being really positive and curious about languages. These are really important values and very much transferable skills. And they're very, very important values for us at Primary Languages Network. If we consider primary languages for us, modeling positivity and showing curiosity is very much at the core of what we want to instill in our young learners. I hope I'm not speaking too fast. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next point, which is pronunciation. Okay, to me this one comes back a lot. So how do I form sounds? So unless you're a linguist yourself, this is going to be a big obstacle. Okay, unless you're a linguist or you know about languages, it is going to be an obstacle for sure. So at Primary Languages Network, we like to talk about our sandbox, okay? And this is different parts of your sandbox. You can see you have your throat, your mouth, your face, your muscles on your face, your nose, your eyes, your ears, and you can see I'm using my hands a lot. I mean, I'm not using my hands to make sound, but to communicate, but it could be also other parts of your body, which is a part of your sandbox. So to make the different sound, you need to use different parts of your sandbox. And it's really a primary way to teach pronunciation, and it's really, really fun. So I would like to have a go now at a couple of words with you, and I hope you're behind your screen and you will join in with me. And we're going to practice using our sandbox to say a couple of words in French. And the first word we're going to do is the word rouge, which means red in French. And I want to start by looking at the R sound, okay? And we're going to think about our sandbox. And to make the R sound, you need to use your throat. So you might want to put your hand on your throat and feel when you say rouge, rouge, how it's tickling a little bit your throat when you make the R sound, rouge, rouge. And if you feel that tickle, then you are on the right track. You're on the right track, rouge. It's subtle. It's not a big R sound like maybe the Spanish R sound, but it's there. So the next sound is the OU sound, which is the OO sound in French. And it's a bit of a tricky sound for English speaker. And to make the OO sound, you're using your eyes, you're using your ears of your sandbox. My sandbox, because I'm making the sound, I'm using my mouth. And my muscles are pulling my mouth forward. I can feel it a tickle as well in my tongue, in my teeth. So lots and lots is happening. So if you want to practice with me the OO sound, you just have to follow me. OO, OO, and then I can put the R with it. Rouge, rouge. You can see how you can have lots and lots of fun with little children playing with lots of words that has an R sound or an OO sound, and notice how it feels with your sandbox. Let's have a go with another word, which is bonjour, which is hello or good morning in French. And I want to think about the ON sound in French, which is French nasal vowel sound, which means it comes from your nose. And these are tricky for English speakers again. So the ON sound sounds like this, and you're going to feel it in your nose this time. So maybe again, just feel that little tickle. So again, with the children in class, have a little bit of fun and go from the oo to the practice all of this, see where you feel it in your sandbox, and talk it through. Maybe some of the children will say, oh, I'm using more my eyes to look at how to make the sound, maybe it's more my ears. It's really, there's no right or wrong here. And here we got also our oo and our ah sound at the end of bonjour. So just a couple of words and lots of mileage in terms of practicing pronunciation. So think about this, think about your sandbox, and if you take away one idea, have a go at this one, because your children will love it, I am sure. Okay, so moving on from the sandbox, but still talking about pronunciation. This one is really important to me, actually, personally. Obviously, this is pronunciation. This is going to take persistence. It's going to take a long time for you to get things right, okay? But the key is to keep on going, to again model those values, persistence, resilience. Can't do this yet, having a growth mindset and just trying to have a go. And at PLN, we really believe that languages are for everyone, okay? It's not because you might be sort of like not there yet with your pronunciation, you can still have a go at teaching languages. And personally, this is something I have to work on every day still. As a French, English is not my mother tongue, so every day I have to think about these sounds. And yesterday, actually, I was talking to my son, we were talking about puppies, and he thought I was telling him about the puppy, the little doggy. So, there's lots of things, lots of examples like that. And, don't let this get in the way of you enjoying teaching the language and you getting better. So yeah, that's something that's quite personal to me. And practice, practice, and you will get better. Okay. How do we tackle pronunciation phonics in our scheme? We made a choice in our resources to embed the the teaching of phonics as part of the lessons. And we have a phonics tracker to ensure that throughout the year, we are bringing the different phonics throughout the year, throughout the scheme. So that's what we do with our phonics. You can teach it discreetly, but for us, we think it is a better way for non-specialists to have it embedded and have lots of opportunity to revisit throughout the lessons, throughout the different activities as well. This is one of my best way to practice pronunciation, which is tongue twisters. Again, if you want to, have fun with pronunciation and not take yourself too seriously, have a go at playing with tongue twisters. We use tongue twisters as warm-ups in our lessons, and they're a big feature of our video to teach scheme. And in fact, we're going to have a little go at doing this tongue twister with Irene. She is our Spanish video to teach teacher and native speaker. And I'm just going to press play, and we're just going to follow her lead and practice this tongue twister with her. Okay, so I hope this works. I hope the sound works for you.
Let's practice this Spanish tongue twister to practice the R sound. And it's all about a dog that has no tail because a man called Ramón Ramírez coached it off. ¿Sí? So, escuchad. El perro de San Roque no tiene rabo porque Ramón Ramírez se lo ha cortado. I'll say it once again. El perro de San Roque no tiene rabo porque Ramón Ramírez se lo ha cortado. ¿Sí? Escuchad y repetid. Let's listen now. El perro de San Roque no tiene rabo porque Ramón Ramírez se lo ha cortado. Muy bien, once again. El perro de San Roque no porque Ramón Ramírez se lo ha cortado. Perfecto, buen trabajo. El perro de San Roque no tiene rabo porque Ramón Ramírez se lo ha cortado. Keep practicing, children. How fast can you say this tongue twister? Adiós.
Okay, so I hope you enjoyed practicing the tongue twister with Irene. So, final point I want to make on the pronunciation aspect of things is if you can have access to a native speaker in your school community, whether it's a parent, it's a teacher, somebody, you know, that is able to bring in that sort of native speaker dimension to the school, that is great. Otherwise, you know, in your scheme of work, you know, you should be looking for things like a native speaker, audio files, and video. In all our schemes of work, we have native speaker audio files. We have the videos as well. So lots and lots of opportunity to hear the native French and Spanish, German, and again to use that in the class if you as a non-specialist and you want obviously to hear it from the native speakers, or to upskill yourself and then have a go at it yourself. Okay, so final point now, moving on to progress. What does progress look like? So you've got a scheme, you are getting more confident with your pronunciation, you've got a few things that you're feeling quite good about it. Now, how about, you know, knowing when you see progress? Is that what the children should be doing? So the main document that we have is the Key Stage 2 program of studies for languages, which was introduced in 2014, when languages were made compulsory in primary school. And it mentions things like the aims and the attainment target, the subject content. And for example, it tells us things like children should be taught to speak in sentences using familiar vocabulary, phrases, and basic language structures. But there's no example of what speaking in sentences might look like, or what structure, vocabulary do we need to teach to achieve this. So there is a need to access other reference documents. And in all our membership, we have the planning tools, the MFL coordinators tool and the planning tools, where there's lots of documentation to really help you unpack the Key Stage 2 program of study. And in particular, there is a resource we really like, and we know our members are finding really, really useful. It's the Core Skills Progress Chart, and it maps out what progress looks like in all the different stages. So not explained already, but we refer to stages, not year groups. So stage 1 could be year 3, if that's the first year of learning. And then if you follow the stage through stage 4, will be your year 6 class. And it shows you the progress of the skills, listening, speaking, reading, and writing throughout the stages. So this is what's going to help you make an informed decision to see at the end of Key Stage 2, oh, that is speaking in sentences. I know this because I've got all these documents to help me understand that. We also have the video examples, for example, speaking. If you click on the video example, you can see a child having a go at those speaking skills in the different stages. So that's a really good feature to really see it for yourself, what progress looks like in speaking. Another place you can look for inspiration to see what other schools are doing, other teachers doing, is social media. There are lots of teachers sharing videos and pictures of children's work. It's a great place for inspiration. We are on Twitter and our handle is @network_primary. And we're also on Facebook, just Primary Languages Network. And we post a lot of things that our members share with us. So go and check it out. As well, with the social media, networking opportunities is really invaluable. If you are someone who is new to the subject, or you might not be feeling really confident, that's going to be really, really invaluable to have a chance to talk to other teachers, because often you might be the only person in your school leading that subject. So we provide lots of networking opportunities for our members, and also for our non-members. We have leadership twilights, effective and outstanding coordination, language upskilling, lots and lots of courses you can attend to. It's all on the website, and you can, like I said, you don't have to be a member, you can access the different twilights. And then finally, to finish on progress, I think I've got to mention assessment. To support you, we have summative assessment in all the 4 skills. We call them puzzle it out, and we have them for listening, speaking, reading, writing, for all the different stages. Every unit has an assessment opportunity, and it includes very detailed teacher's notes and answer sheets, transcripts, so absolutely everything for the non-specialist to be able to make an informed decision about progress and feel like they are confident in passing a judgment as to where a child is at. So I'm now going to hand over to Kate, and she's going to tell us a little bit about raising the profile of languages in schools.
Thank you, Emily. That was fantastic. And I can just sense that lots of maybe new coordinators are really feeling a bit of a relief that, you know, with the right scheme of work behind you, it's totally possible to have that ambitious curriculum in your school, which is accessible for every child and also every teacher. So that's a really important message, and thank you for sharing that. So as a coordinator, if you are an MFL lead, as I am, you are really going to want to raise that profile of languages in your school. And there's several ways of doing this. And actually, at this stage of the presentation, I might add that if you are a primary school teacher, you are a specialist in your own right. You are a specialist in engaging primary school children in learning and that love of learning. So, you know, primary school teachers are amazing at reading stories, singing songs, using drama, their facial expressions, their body language, and really bringing learning to life. So it's just about picking up all those skills and strategies and applying it to foreign languages, which, as I said, with the right scheme of work behind you and the right support, is totally possible. So you're going to want to be proud of that and share that within your school and beyond as well. And a great way to do that is to celebrate that as the school comes together into assemblies, not necessarily taking the whole of an assembly up, but you might do, or you might just have, you know, a 5-minute slot where the children who've learned a song might perform it for the rest of the school. Or it might be a bit of an example might be where the children might teach the rest of the school something that they've learned. There might be a little quiz question or a competition, something to really embed that learning with the whole school. Similarly, social media is great. So if your school has Twitter or Facebook feed, obviously with the relevant permissions in place, it's brilliant to then be able to share photos, audio recordings, any videos of anything that's been going on in the classroom and in the whole school, because that really extends that learning out beyond the school walls and out to children's homes and the wider community as well. So that whole school approach is, you know, it's really important that the children feel that they have the right to learn a language, to have that safe culture where they can make mistakes and feel like it's okay, because that's how they learn. So on the next slide, you'll see a poster that we're really proud of at PLN. And we have this for the various different languages, but it might be something that you display in school. And it's a bit like a promise or an agreement between the teachers and the children at that school, that in our school, we learn Spanish, we enjoy being language detectives, we're practicing, so we are allowed the opportunity to practice, and we can find out where languages take us. We're beginning to work on all our skills, listening, speaking, reading and writing, and finding out interesting facts about Spanish-speaking countries as well. So something like that is a great visual, just to, as a reminder really, that's the aim and the right for every child in the school. Also, thinking about incidental language, this is something that if you're short on time or you're worried that you're a little bit behind with the scheme as a whole, this is where you can really still embed language from day to day. So it's all the kind of phrases that you say, and I know myself, I say them a lot in English. Why not say them in the target language? So stand up, sit down, look at me, listen please. And you could even have monitors or language ambassadors who are in charge of making sure that you say those phrases in the target language rather than in English. If every colleague, every staff member could maybe use one phrase one week, and then the second week build that up and say 2 different phrases. Over the course of a half term or a term, their bank of phrases and vocabulary is really going to expand, and so is their confidence as well. So this is what we'd like to give away to you today for free. It's classroom instructions, interactive resource in French, German and Spanish. And if you go to the sessions tab back on the Zoom, the webinar, you'll be able to find under the resources, I think it's called, in the resources section. So underneath our speaker bios, you will see the PDF link for these 3 documents. And once you open them up and click on the link, you will see that there are little sound files embedded into all the different instructions. So you can listen to them for the first few times, and then you'll have the confidence to be able to say them yourself. So that's the aim with that.
Yeah, if you've got problem accessing that, just send us an email and we can send you that resource as well.
Definitely. Okay. Certificates are a great way, not just to reward attainment, but to reward what we call language detective skills. So on the next slide, you'll see an example of some of the ones that we have built into our scheme. And also in the middle, you can see this is the way one school has decided to use them. So they have a star of the week, and that pupil's name changes every week from all the different classes. And they've been awarded language detective skills certificate for that particular lesson or that particular week. So it might be things like they've made a link, they found a cognate word with a word in Spanish and English, or with their own heritage language, or maybe they've just had that confidence one week to be able to speak out aloud, which for a lot of children can be quite overwhelming. It might be that they've been a really helpful learner and helped somebody else, maybe by doing actions to prompt the vocabulary. There's so many different things that we class as language detective skills, which are essentially transferable skills that you can then use going forward to learn any language with. So it's about maybe using a dictionary well, maybe working out which are key words and important words and words that we don't need to know because it doesn't add to meaning. It might be just having a go with your speaking and really working on mouth shapes and pronunciation, but not worrying at the same time that it's not 100% accurate. We always say speaking should be for a sympathetic native listener, so someone who will be sympathetic about the words that are spoken, and as long as that communication is happening, then that's what we're really trying to aim for. So as well as certificates, I mentioned language monitors or ambassadors. It might be you just nominate 1 or 2 children in each class who are in charge of making sure that that incidental language is happening, or maybe those 2 or 3 minute little revisits of activities are happening throughout the week, so that retention is ongoing and we're not leaving the learning just to the actual language lesson. They might be in charge of resources, so collecting in dictionaries or working out which piece of work might be going on display that week, or even they might be in charge of who deserves the language detective certificate that week. So lots of roles and responsibility can be attributed to language monitors or language ambassadors, and from what we know, it's a very popular role. I know I've got a bit of a waiting list in my class of children who are waiting their turn to be language ambassador. Heritage languages is also really important. So we're not just focusing on the second language that the children are learning in school, but also if they have a language that they speak at home or outside of school. So it's a great opportunity to put a spotlight on children who have heritage languages, and if they feel confident enough, give them a little slot, maybe every so often, where they share a word or a phrase, maybe a song or a poem in their heritage language. Or maybe, as Emily mentioned earlier, then you might have members of the community who have other languages who are happy to come into school and share some language or some culture as well that's linked to their heritage language country. Display is another lovely way to really fly the flag for your subject. So of course, children love seeing examples of their work on the wall, but what we've really found quite powerful is some schools in our network have decided to do a progress wall. So I'll let Emily move on to the next slide and you can see some examples of those. So on the left hand side, you can really clearly see here that learners at stage 1 at the bottom there have been writing out maybe some labeling, they've been naming some animals, I think it is, and it's created a beautiful sort of fairy lights display. As it goes up to stage 2, they've maybe been finishing some sentences, having been given the first part of the sentence. Stage 3 might be then constructing full sentences, maybe using conjunctions in the middle, or maybe an opinion phrase and a reason why. And at the top there, that's stage 4 writing. So you can see how it's extended. It's become more manipulated by the individual. Learners are more independent with what they can write. Maybe there's some dictionary work involved there as well, but you can really see that progression. And I love how the one on the right also involves some form of culture as well. So we've got some props, some realia, some traditional dress, some colour schemes in there as well that really brings that learning to life. You might be at the stage where you are feeling so confident, hopefully after today, with your primary languages that you feel your school could really go for an accreditation. And Primary Languages Network offers one particular accreditation called the PLDA, the Primary Languages Development Award. It's run by our colleague Catherine Sims, who knows everything there is to know about the process and guides you through the entire thing as well. This is open to members and non-members, so feel free to get in touch or to head for the PLDA page as part of our website if you would like more information. But as you can see there, it's a 6-stage process where you provide evidence and examples against a set of criteria, which, as I say, Catherine will guide you through. And then by the end of it, you can come out with an award achievement, a logo, a certificate, which can then go onto your website to say you have achieved a certain standard in primary languages provision. It can go on your letterheads, it can be displayed in school. So lastly, special days and links with the global dimension. So as we've mentioned culture already, it's really important that you refer to what we call the global dimension calendar as your primary language provision happens in school. So this is one I Googled from last year. There's a more up-to-date one for this year if you just Google global dimension calendar. And my advice really would be not to try and cram as many different days in as possible. I think that's possibly too overwhelming for staff, but you might see a special day on there, maybe to do with the rights of a child, or something to do with sport, or something that really links to what's happening in your school anyway, or really helps to embed links with language. And if that is the case, then I would really go for it and link the two together and raise the profile of languages in that way as well. So a huge one is the European Day of Languages, which is the 26th of September every year. And on the next slide, you can see some examples of some activities that network schools have become involved with that, again, are just so bringing the language learning to life, so interactive, often involving the children to answer a question or to get involved in some way. You can see some sound buttons that have been used there, maybe some links with mathematics, voting for things, and a bit of data collection. And of course, some role play. Bottom right, you can see a lovely scene that's been set there, and the children have huge smiles on their faces. And it's going to be something that they really remember if you can build in just a couple of special days into your school calendar like that. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our session. If you do have a question and you want to put it into the Q&A section of the webinar, or indeed into the chat, we can have a quick look at those before we stop. And hopefully you will now feel that you are a bit more confident when it comes to overcoming those obstacles that Emily talked through to start with, in terms of boosting either your own or colleagues or other teachers' confidence in teaching primary languages. Hopefully you've got some examples of effective practice and some top tips on how to raise the profile in your school. Do go ahead and have a look at that resource. It's if you do nothing else, I think that is just something that will really help languages become embedded in your school. And here are our email addresses, so we're more than happy if you think of a question after today for you to contact us. So I'm Kate at primarylanguages.network, or Emily is Emily at primarylanguages.network.
Yeah, all our details are on there. So like Kate said, don't hesitate to get in touch. Follow us on Facebook, on Twitter. We've got, I didn't mention, we've got the YouTube channel as well. We love, creating and making new videos. We've got one coming for the Football World Cup. So yeah, lots and lots of things for you to take away if you wish to.
Definitely. We also offer a 6-week trial, which is absolutely free, don't we, Emily? So if you're maybe looking for a different scheme, or you're just new to the role of coordinator and you want to just see which scheme is right for you, then do make contact and we can give you a username and login, and that actually gives you access to absolutely everything for a full half term. So you could see what that progression looks like across a half term in your chosen language, and you're supported, as Emily says, with all the resources and the videos, the PowerPoints and the CPD. So do let us know if you're interested and we can get you set up.
Okay, that's it, I think.
Yeah, I think we're done.
I think I can't see any more questions. So but if something comes up, don't hesitate to reach out and be more than happy to help. I wish everyone have a great end of the day and weekend. There's so much going on in the conference. I hope you enjoy watching and listening to all the different talks.
Yeah, absolutely. Enjoy the conference and yeah, keep in touch. Okay. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Goodbye.